Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Welcome to the 7th issue of the Weekly Hero. I'm, of course, your existential Mr. Rogers, Robert Meyer Burnett, but you know, it isn't a show without my beautiful compatriot, a devastatingly intelligent, very, very knowledgeable fan of all things comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, animation. She knows more about animation than I could ever learn. Kris Carr.
What a good intro, Rob. Thank you so much.
Did you like that one?
I did like that one.
I can't believe we've done this 7 times. The 7th. I know many comic book runs never made it to issue 7.
Magnificent Seven.
The Magnificent Seven. That's where we're at.
That's us, baby.
You know, and we were given a gift today, a gift that not many people get. We were given a brand new Marvel trailer right before we went on there in the John Campea Show this morning. Quantumania, where we saw in his full regalia, even though it was in the shadows.
Yes.
The classic-looking Kang.
Yeah, done very well.
Mr. Meyer's looking good. I mean, I kept thinking, all you people need to do is call Michael B. Jordan, not as Killmonger. Just bring him on as Michael B. Jordan. Make him canon, and he'll take care of your Kang problem for you. Maybe in the boxing ring.
That'd be pretty
Maybe
fun.
not. Anyway, so we got to look at Quantumania. I'm a huge fan of the Ant-Man franchise. I really like both films a lot. And I appreciate how in the first film, there was no apocalyptic stakes. It pretty much ended in Cassie's bedroom.
Yeah.
On her train set.
Exactly. We had, stakes about family really in that one. And sure, there was corporate intrigue and enterprise and everything as well. And we had, those S.H.I.E.L.D. connections. But ultimately, it was about reconnecting with family, finding your place in the world, trying to do the right thing. And it was done so well. And it's such a good balance of humor.
I love, and that's the thing. People talk about how the Marvel Cinematic Universe has leaned into certain genres. And a lot of people say, well, Ant-Man was a heist story. And it was, but it also, I thought, had the perfect blend of humor and pathos.
Same.
Which it's not easy to do, especially in a franchise film, as we saw in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah. Well, and this trailer, I feel, kind of is striking that balance. Obviously, we haven't seen the film. This is the first trailer that's come out. But, I love Paul Rudd in this role, and I just feel like he does a really great job balancing the weight of these scenarios with all of that Scott Lang humor, with that Paul Rudd humor so well. So the first half of this is just, a little giggle fest. It's so fun having him mixed up for Spider-Man. And then we get into the quantum realm and things go berserk.
I mean, first of all, I felt that there was a real sense of wonder. I mean, whenever the Warner Cinematic Universe, there is no Warner Cinematic Universe.
Oh.
Whenever the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes into, whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy's Outer Space Land, or we go into the quantum realm, or we go onto like Ego, the living planets, onto his planet, I always feel like we're getting the colors. It's like an explosion. I feel like I've taken some psychedelics. Yeah. And I'm tripping balls. And I love, I would assume there's obviously Kang's domain.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that there's a city in the quantum realm.
It seems like the Chronopolis.
It does seem like the Chronopolis to me, where is a nice base of operations to launch many shenanigans against targets that are easily accessible with anyone with quantum abilities or quantum technology, which is, this isn't just a city. This looks like an entire universe of, there's all kinds of crazy people.
It looks like Coruscant in the background.
It does look like Coruscant in the background. And obviously Kang and Chronopolis this is a long time part of the comic universe. And I love that they're establishing this. I think it's kind of interesting that they're doing this in Ant-Man, because I think of Ant-Man as one of the more grounded MCU titles, because like we talked about, Ant-Man 1 does not turn into some weird apocalyptic thing. But with the addition of the quantum realm, because of what they used it for in Endgame, they've suddenly blown up and expanded where it can be or what it can do or how much meaning it has. So, how did you feel about the depiction of, well, it's not just Chronopolis, it's obviously, there's the Grand Canyon of where we are.
Time and space.
I'm really excited by this, but I wonder, they're really pushing the boundaries of the Ant-Man franchise by doing this.
They are.
How do you feel about that?
I'm excited, but I'm wondering how far into comic book lore we're going to get here, right? Because this seems really, really cool. Bold of Cassie to be playing with the quantum realm after her father and grandmother were, step-grandma, they're not married yet. Scott's girlfriend's mom. There we go.
Right.
like bold to push playing around with the quantum realm and contacting it and putting a signal out there. But I'm really excited about this Chronopolis stuff because, I mean, this is Kang's base of operations in the comics. And it was created, though, by a different Kang, right? One of the Divergents.
Yes. One of the many Kangs.
Yeah. And then that Kang is removed by the Council of Kangs that forms, which I feel like we've got the Rick and Morty team here, right? Helping work on this.
Yes.
Council of Kangs feels like something that is just within our grasp, but I'm wondering, is that too bonkers to introduce in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or is it just bonkers enough?
I think, well, after Loki and the many different Lokis we see at the end of time, whether it's an alligator Loki, a frog Loki, however many Lokis there are.
A little frog Thor.
I think the Council of Kangs is not something I think is too far out. I just hope, with Thor Love and Thunder, I thought it got a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, because Kang is a formidable villain, a very dangerous man, and they're going to base one of the next two Avengers movies, the Kang Dynasty, I thought was a great storyline. Very serious global implications, multiple teams of Avengers fighting him on multiple fronts. So I think I really like the trailer. I thought it looked really great. I thought it was very intriguing. But it looks like it's the opening salvo of what this will be the first movie in Phase 5, which is leading up to these two Avengers films. Yeah. So I'm hoping this plots a direction for the universe. And I'm curious, again, with the Marvel cosmology, and I don't mean to joke when I say this, do the Celestials know about the quantum realm? Are there Celestials in the quantum realm? Because wouldn't there be? And if they are, again, like with the supernatural, if you live in the quantum realm, did you get snapped when Thanos snapped his fingers? Is the quantum realm attached to the larger universe?
Yeah, there's just logistical issues that still haven't been addressed.
I mean, I know people are always going, why do you care, Rob? And I'm like, I need to know. I just need to know.
To flesh out that world. It's to last no more. I agree, though. They need to make sure that Kang is a absolute threat. And this is going to establish that tone, right? You make one first impression, and it needs to be strong because, again, and I don't mean to always harp on Thor, Love, and Thunder, but Gore the God Butcher is such an excellent, juicy villain. And Christian Bale did a great job with what he was given in that film.
Right.
However, we took this villain, and it was one and done, like so many of our Marvel threats are. That's fair. But on the page, so much more threatening, so much more terrifying, some bigger stakes ultimately than what we saw there. And with Kang, I really, really hope that we lean into how much of a threat he is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I want to see, like, there was a serious nature, especially in the Captain America films, that I thought grounded, it anchored the MCU from spinning off too much because it really brought it down. Captain America had his relationships with people that were very human and very based in our reality. And I think our reality needs to anchor the MCU. You can go out as crazy as you want. You can give us Celestials and Deviants and Ego the Living Planet. But there has to be an anchor to normalcy. And while Steve Rogers isn't necessarily normal, he's a super soldier. When he's introduced in the first Avenger, he's, a scrawny guy from Jersey.
From Jersey?
Well,
he's a New York kid, baby.
Is it? Oh, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
From Brooklyn. I say Brooklyn, right? Is he from? He's from Brooklyn.
He's Brooklyn, and then Spidey's Queens, right?
Right. Yeah. That's right. But it's. Did I say Jersey? I don't know why I said Jersey.
That's okay. That's why I'm here.
Different state. But that keeps the universe grounded. And when you get too far away from that, you lose that tether. Luckily, we've got. I mean, it looks like Cassie's has her own quantum suit now.
Yes, Did she make that before she got there? Did they just make these suits when they're in the quantum realm?
I mean, it looks like they get sucked in, or does that happen later? I don't know. But are we intrigued?
Very, very much so. And I really want to know what Michelle Pfeiffer knew, because it was, I didn't tell you everything.
Well, she was there for 30 years.
Exactly. I want to know about all those shenanigans that went down while she was trapped there.
I mean, did she know Kang? What if she has to tell Michael Douglas she was married to Kang? Didn't
Kang
work
should
out.
be so lucky.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, man.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. So we're both excited.
Heck yeah.
You know what else excited me?
What?
Well, over the last week, a big question mark in my mind has been Wakanda Forever. And all we've really seen are two trailers that we both I think we would agree, we've liked the trailers, liked everything we've seen.
Oh, absolutely. They've been masterpieces.
And not knowing exactly what is this movie going to be like, they have been dropping clips. There's TV spots, but there has been some clips. We've seen Riri Williams in a Target has been one of the things they've dropped, which, looks fun.
Yeah.
But the clip that I am most interested in and that you are most interested in, tell us about this clip.
Oh my gosh, the lab attack clip that was released this morning. We're filming this on a Monday. It was released Monday morning. Oh my gosh, this looks so fun. We are seeing new weapons from Shuri's lab being used. We're seeing the Dermalage come in and fight while bantering too, which, I'm just starting to learn boxing. I can barely count punches and move at the same time. The fact that they can have full-blown conversations about new weapons, that's why they're trained and I'm not.
I have to say, I loved this conversation because it harks back to Star Wars, about lightsabers, an elegant weapon. And you've got Okoye, Shuri is made like what looked like light daggers.
Yeah.
And Okoye is like, no. Those are not elegant. Not like these. Not like her giant metal pike that she could run you through. Mm-hmm. I loved all that.
Those things were sick, though.
They were dope.
Oh.
But I loved seeing that obviously it brought up a lot more questions. Who are they fighting? Where are they? What are they doing? You've got two of our Dora Milaje main characters that we've seen. Mm-hmm. What's going on?
Yeah, why are they in this lab? What's there that is worth attacking?
I don't know. But obviously, this and the Riri Williams, I couldn't really tell, is this part of the movie or is it a Target ad? Did Riri Williams steal the idea for a power source from a girl that she met building blocks in Target? I'm like, what the hell? Anyway, I'm in.
Inspiration comes from everywhere.
Apparently so. Maybe she was stealing from a kid the way Kanye steals from... or the way Quentin Tarantino steals from Kanye.
Oh man!
But but I thought that that this clip was, very intriguing. It's not even. I think it's 30 seconds long.
Yeah, short and sweet. I've got it.
And
on here.
already,
7 seconds.
Already, I am so excited to see. Maybe I'm expecting this movie to do too much because I wanted to sort of. I'm expecting that the geopolitical situation in the MCU as it exists post-Thanos snap is going to be defined by what happens between Wakanda and Talocan. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that is, but I would imagine that there's got to be some reference, unless we don't know when it takes place. Does it take place? Does it start during the blip? I don't know.
There's so many questions still because, the trailer doesn't seem to have a definitive timeline. The trailers, I should say. Some seem pre, some seem post. We don't know when this factors into when T'Challa passes or how that even happens.
All I know is that Angela Bassett, who can be my queen any day of the week.
Oh my gosh.
To see more of her. First of all, can we just talk about, I should mention that the costume designer, Carr, is going to be tomorrow on Designing Hollywood on our channel. But she already won an Academy Award for her work. But my God, the dresses that Angela Bassett is wearing in this movie alone, give her all the awards.
Oh, yeah.
Give Ruth all the awards.
Ruth's going to get another nomination.
Unbelievable.
For sure. And hopefully cinch the win again. I'm so excited. This made me more excited for the fight choreography. This made me more excited about what's potentially happening here because are we doing experiments with vibranium and adamantium, that sort of thing? Are we bringing that all in here? And to your point too, those geopolitical machinations I think are going to be a really cool thing to bring into the MCU because while we've gone on a lot about how things have gotten very galactic in the MCU, I am excited about the global perspective on things. I'm really excited to see how Wakanda stepping into the light right around the blip too, with all of their resources and all of their advancements, is seen by the rest of the world and how everyone else feels about them. Because from a UN standpoint, I'm sure this did not go over well.
Well, it's funny that you bring up the UN because I keep thinking about that. Like, is Wakanda part of the UN now? And if Wakanda is, does that mean the Talocan Empire, Confederacy, Hegemony, whatever they call themselves, do they have to petition? Do they want to be part of the UN? Is there a UN in the MCU? I know there kind of is because of the Sokovia Accords, but how does it all work out?
Exactly. And maybe other people aren't interested in that, but I find that fascinating. I want to understand the political hierarchy, especially if we're going to then get into Dr. Doom and these other characters who are leaders of their own countries. I feel like that's a really cool perspective to bring in here.
And what is the U.S. position on a beef between Talocan and Wakanda? Do you step in? Obviously Wakanda doesn't need our weapons or our armaments to sort of whatever.
Wildly advance.
Yeah. So what do you do? And do we get a say? And does anyone care?
Do you try to form allegiances?
I
That's
don't,
all very interesting to me.
It's going to be interesting to see. Well, very exciting. You know what else is very exciting?
What?
The rumors that there's going to be either a Silver Surfer movie.
Ooh, yeah.
Or Silver Surfer is going to be. Look, I am not happy with the way Silver Surfer has been portrayed. Silver Surfer and Galactus wasn't bad in
Doug
Rise
Jones
of the Silver Surfer.
Admirable job. I mean, admirable job. He was great in the role. Doug Jones is great in everything he does.
Yes.
But that was not a script that was beneficial to him or to the character.
You know, I've always loved the Silver Surfer. His name is Norrin Rad, and he is from the planet.
Levian.
No, I just forgot.
I know we were just talking about this before. Zenla, because he's Zenlavian.
Yeah, he's Zenlavian. Zenla is the name of the planet. Now, he was a very noble man.
He was an
astronomer, scientist. And by the way, Zenla is a utopian civilization.
Yes.
Beautiful place. Unfortunately, it is a place that Galactus was going to devour. And Norrin Rad is able to convince Galactus not to, of course, Silver Surfer was created by Jack Kirby.
Yes.
And he was introduced in the pages of Fantastic Four. This is, of course, Silver Surfer 1, the Sentinel of the Spaceways. But Norrin Rad makes a sacrifice in order to save his planet and the woman he loves, his wife. Wife? Yes, wife.
Yes.
Girlfriend, wife. He agrees to become the Herald of Galactus. And it is his job to find planets that Galactus can devour, but he's hoping to find planets that aren't teeming with life like his own planet. And it's sort of, his story begins from there. Are you a fan of the Silver Surfer character? Because when I was a kid, people used to tell me, like, I was the only DC fan in my neighborhood.
Okay.
And all the other kids were like, well, you know, Silver Surfer is more powerful than Superman is. And I'm like, well, how do you compare and contrast?
I mean, he is one of the most powerful characters within Marvel, and I would say within comic books. So much so that Mephisto himself was after him and defeated by him.
Yes.
He was mostly interested in him though for his pure heart because of his love for Shalla-Bal, where it was, oh my gosh, such a pure heart.
Shalla-Bal, his wife.
And so you have this very noble, as you said, heroic character who has incredible cosmic powers. So he can absorb and manipulate energy, obviously can traverse through space. It's a really rad character. And to what we were talking about on the main show today is, could you even do this character without the Fantastic Four? And you and I both argued, for sure you could. You wouldn't do the parting of ways from Galactus, because the Fantastic Four is who
integral to that.
Yeah, they're the ones
removing him. But his I mean, you could definitely, if Marvel wanted to do like a Werewolf by Night story, imagine introducing that planet and introducing a beautiful utopian civilization, introducing Norrin Rad, and then realizing he realizes to his horror that Galactus is coming, and they know who Galactus is, maybe. So you do a whole story about him making that sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's the story. Giving up his everything he is, everything he loves to save his planet. If they did it, I mean, I don't see it as a movie because there's the conflict is that sacrifice, and if you did it, I don't know if Marvel's going to do more hour-long shows. I mean, we know there's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Maybe that's what that is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that.
Merry Christmas. We just met the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, I mean, hey. But they could do something like that, and I think that's a cool hour-long. It reminds me of an old Outer Limits. I was a big fan of the 2 seasons of the Outer Limits growing up, the show from the 60s. This would be Norrin Rad's sacrifice could be like an Outer Limits episode in the MCU. I
think that would be really, really cool. I mean, you could just focus on the Heralds of Galactus in general.
Yes.
It's a great way to kind of introduce some characters. And I know some of those might be a little convoluted, right? Of like, we're going to have Nova, and the first time we're seeing Nova is maybe as a Herald of Galactus. That maybe would be a little iffy. But having these people and these different aliens who have had to succumb to Galactus's will in order to save their own people, who made noble sacrifices, but ultimately then become complicit in the murders of millions.
Right.
You know, I think that's billions, planets. That's a really interesting story to look at. Or like the God Squad or the Annihilators. There's so many other things you can do as these little one-offs that I think would work in that kind of Werewolf by Night format when it's that slice of life. Here's this tiny moment in their story, right? A hunt of some sort, a meeting of the heralds, that sort of thing that could be really, really interesting and give us that backstory as opposed to doing that when we're also meeting the Fantastic Four for the first or second time.
I mean, because I felt like one of the things, I thought Gore the God Butcher was kind of done a bit dirty in Thor Love and Thunder because his backstory was dealt with in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And I mean, that would have really lent itself well to an hour-long story. People might say, well, Rob, you know, they did it in 5 minutes in the film. But there could have been, there was so much more to it than that. You could have done more of a setup. You could have met his wife that was, I guess, cut out of the movie. You know, you could have seen a lot more of that. And in a way, this story, I mean, there's a lot of comic book tropes. This story is similar to what Gore was facing. It's just that our character ends up not being a evil himself. He has to align himself with a being, a creature, a machine, a thing that is considered evil because his job is to devour planets. I was
going to say, he doesn't get corrupted in the same way as Gore, but he is doing something incredibly horrible.
But for reasons that, you know, he's trying to do the right thing. I'm going to save my planet.
It's a great morally gray area, right? Of if some were to come to Earth and it was, hey, we'll save Earth, but every other planet is going to be eviscerated.
Yeah, I feel like tough for them. Tough being them.
I feel like many a noble human being would be like, that seems fair. No, I need to save Earth. Okay, I'll go do that. Many a not noble human being would be like, yeah, I got to save Earth.
No, it's true. But I do think it's a great way if they decide to go that way to use these this format, you could tell this story because it is a great story. And once I learned when I was a kid who the Silver Surfer was, I became a big fan. And because the Silver Surfer, once he was sort of extricated from Galactus, he came to Earth sort of exile, but he interacted with a lot of Marvel characters.
I mean, he's part of, I think, the Defenders at one point.
Yes,
which
he was.
Is wild.
Yes.
But tons and tons of different team ups because that was part of his punishment was, hey, you severed ties with Galactus, but now you have to live on this planet that you helped save.
Which is also kind of because he was not from here and he was a sad man. You know who's not a sad man?
Who's not
Actually,
a sad man?
It's true, he's sad. Batman.
Batman.
No one knows what it's like to be the Batman. To be the sad man behind the cowl. Wow. Oh my God. We didn't plan that, by the way.
Oh shit. We're around each other too much.
Wow. So I would like to talk about one of the definitive Batman, at least definitive for the modern age of Batman. The 1989 graphic novel, the painted graphic novel by Grant Morrison, Arkham Asylum.
Yes.
And before we do that, because that's our issue that we have today, we're going to go to our sponsor.
Guys, we want to take a moment and thank a sponsor of today's video, Wondery, and their new podcast, the official Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power podcast. Guys, it's time to go deeper into the canals of Numenor, the mines of Khazad-dûm, and more with the official The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power podcast. Host Felicia Day and several special guests provide an inside look at the groundbreaking series and what it took to bring Middle-earth to life. Each episode of the official podcast features exclusive interviews with the series showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, including the very first full breakdown of the incredible season finale. Felicia also goes behind the scenes with the cast and crew to bring you jaw-dropping stories and Easter eggs that you won't want to miss. So watch The Rings of Power on Prime Video and listen to all 8 episodes of the official The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power podcast for free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app now.
And we are back. Thank you to Wondery for sponsoring this episode of The Weekly Hero. Now the issues that we have, clearly we're on the same page because we can sing together and make up lyrics on the fly. Amazing.
We're right here, man.
So, look, I remember when Grant Morrison and Dave McKean's graphic novel, Arkham Asylum, came out in '89. Now, Grant Morrison had said the inspiration for this actually came from Len Wein, the creator of Wolverine. Len Wein had written a few paragraphs about Arkham Asylum, like in Who's Who of the DC Universe. And Amadeus Arcane?
Yes.
And then Amadeus Arcane went crazy because the stock market crashed. Amadeus, did I say Arcane?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of Abigail Arcane. Yes, Arkham. Amadeus Arkham. Let's get it right. And so he used that little bit that Len Wein had thrown out as the entire basis of Arkham Asylum, gave it everything. It wasn't just a place where Batman's rogues gallery was kept, but also it had supernatural elements, and with the addition of having all of the great Dave McKean's painted artwork. I mean, look at the Joker. The artwork in this, I remember reading this, and it's Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth. Mm-hmm. So that was the full title of it, and that was actually taken from a poem. Again, the depiction of the rogues in this graphic novel went on to it influenced the Arkham video games. It influenced, and again, this was on the heels of The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. Mm-hmm. It's 3 years after that was wrapped up. I don't think without The Dark Knight Returns, these kinds of things would have happened in the DC universe. What is your take on this? I mean, obviously we get to see, this is to me, and for Halloween, if you want to read something for Halloween, I know we said Batman The Long Halloween and the subsequent sequels and prequels, all that. What would you say to people about this?
I mean, like we were talking about off camera, though, Batman just lends himself to spooky season. The Rogues Gallery.
I mean, look at this.
This art, though, is wild. McKean's stuff here, because it looks like, I was telling Taylor, it's just all, it's almost like the paintings are just melting and dripping. Someone just kind of threw a bucket of water and let everything settle down.
Yes.
And there is this griminess to it, and it's so off-putting. And that mixed with Grant Morrison's twisted-ass mind, because this is the guy who gave us, Doom Patrol, who gave us, Batman R.I.P. He does great work with Batman. It's such a really, really creepy, kooky comic. And this is basically our definitive look at Arkham Asylum. This is what made Arkham what it is and how we always perceive it to be. In this story, too, right, we have the inmates have all escaped. They're being led by the Joker. Arkham is just being run amok. And you got to get back in there, Bats, and make sure we get this all situated. And it is a psychologically disturbing look at what goes on inside that place.
Don't get it, that actual image of Norman Bates that was a little bit changed, that's actually Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. It's a very famous still from Psycho. I mean, just look at, by the way, I've never been able to get a house of cards that's that tall. I was very good at making house of cards, but that I could never do. I mean, but look at this. You got a little Harvey Dent in there. You got Joker in there. You cannot go wrong. And this book since '89 it was originally a hardcover.
Yes.
And then it's been published as an absolute edition. Mm-hmm. It is
a special edition, too.
Special edition, omnibus, whatever. Yeah. There's so much in this comic, but the artwork, I mean, look at this image. If that isn't terrifying, I mean, in terms of, and it's funny because I was kind of thought that Jared Leto's Joker was almost in a way the closest to this Joker. I mean, in terms of just the way he was now you could say Heath Ledger, but Heath Ledger was a little bit lower key than this Joker.
I mean, sure. Heath Ledger's Joker was also good.
Well,
I mean,
there is that.
I know it's subjective.
I
know it's subjective. In terms of looks, yes, aside from all the face tattoos and the I'm so hashtag
But I always felt
him.
like to me, the Heath Ledger Joker is very calculating.
Yes.
He might be an anarchist and want to watch the world burn, but he's not insane. Mm-hmm. And he takes umbrage when you do say he's insane.
That is true.
He gets a little, I never saw the Heath Ledger Joker as the Arkham Asylum Joker. I don't think we've ever seen that Joker totally depicted on screen.
I mean, the closest we've come to is the video games, honestly.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that is, Bats' own just like descent into madness.
Yes.
Right? And that's honestly the closest thing we have as an adaptation from this comic is that game, which I know a lot of people don't think it sticks the landing. It worked for me. I don't know. I found it very immersive and I really enjoyed it. But this one is it's just so creepy. It's just so creepy. And every moment that he is on the page, like the Joker is just such a threat, and it's done so well because it is that agent of chaos.
Right.
It is that you don't know what's going to happen next once you flip the page here.
And I do feel that this single graphic novel has been the most influential piece of comicdom on all of the Batman franchise moving forward in any medium, whether it was Batman the Animated Series, whether it was the Arkham video games, whether it was Chris Nolan's Batman trilogy. And because the idea of what they did with the Scarecrow, when the Scarecrow's using his dust when Cillian Murphy's, it's inducing Arkham Asylum in everyone's mind in a way.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff comes right out of this work.
Oh yeah, it's a major theme in this whole run is that how the inmates perceive their own insanity.
Right.
And how they view themselves and their crimes and everything is a really, really fun thing that goes out throughout this. And they do all these kind of Alice in Wonderland parallels too of the looking glass that is the asylum.
Yes, and I have no evidence to support this, but the idea of leaning into Moon Knight's, I know it's Marvel,
Yes.
but I do believe that a lot of because Moon Knight was always talked about as being a Batman ripoff in a way. And I know that Bill Sienkiewicz, early on in his career when he was first drawing Moon Knight, was criticized about his stuff looking like Denny O'Neil's Batman work, and the stuff from the comics he was doing. And I never felt that was those Batman comics were that way. But Neil Adams, the artist Neil Adams, was literally who drew Denny O'Neil's Batman. Mm-hmm. Neil Adams, everyone said Bill Sienkiewicz was aping Neil Adams as an artist. And I thought that Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams Batman was a definitive Batman, but that's why I was kind of felt when they leaned into, and by the way, Bill Sienkiewicz, you were not aping Neil Adams, even though you told me that, he was definitely an inspiration for you. I mean, in our interview together. But I do think that Moon Knight was influenced by Arkham Asylum later, and we saw that in the Marvel series.
I think so too. Well, because I mean, this really is a very like Carl Jungian surrealist look at the macabre.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know we had something Batman last week that was also very, very stylized too when you look at Tim Sale's art.
In a very different way, though.
So different. And this is one of those things where I do think, because you're a DC boy, I'm more Make Mine Marvel. This is where I think DC really shines in the pages. DC's been able to play in their sandbox when it comes to the print of, hey, let's take our IP and go hog wild with it. Let's explore Lewis Carroll and quantum physics. Let's explore this kind of very noir, pulpy kind of environment. They do an excellent, excellent job of that in a way that I don't think Marvel has always stuck the landing, aside from a few things like Spider-Man Noir or things like that. But when you get Batman and you do these very, very surrealist, creepy stories, and you really play with the world and play with the actual psychological notions of all these characters, it's all so good.
And you're right. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever allowed Marvel to go this far or this sort of off. Because look, if I was 8 years old and I cracked the pages of Arkham Asylum, it would have terrified me. I would have run screaming to my parents. I don't think Marvel's ever allowed their characters to be had anything go as far as Arkham Asylum does.
Well, because, I mean, Marvel was such a pioneer, but in the 60s, right, when Stan was saying, no, we are going to talk about these issues. We're going to talk about drug use in a very, very real way. We're going to talk about racism. We're going to talk about, LGBTQ community. We're going to talk about it was a very great issues-based company that was really on the forefront of things. But when it came to the experimentation of playing with their characters and the worlds they've built, I feel like that's where they've really limited themselves.
And, especially in the wake of The Dark Knight, I mean, that going from Frank Miller's Ronin to then go to The Dark Knight, and DC saw that you could do these kinds of things and readers would respond.
Yeah, I just wish they would, parlay that into their cinematic world.
Yeah, although Todd Phillips' Joker, it's not like this, but it's different. I mean,
and that's fair, and that's a film that I go, I'll see this once, and I'll never have to see it again. But it did do that. It did do. Let's play in the sandbox and let's see those limits. Matt Reeves' Batman, I think, also is a really great. Hey, let's play within the sandbox and let's see what we can do.
If Matt Reeves did this, if he did Arkham Asylum as a second movie,
that's what I wanted. That'd
be insane.
When they were talking about the Arkham series that was supposed to happen,
yeah,
I really was hoping for this kind of serialized look like this.
So once again, we're simpatico.
Yeah, on everything except for Jared Leto. What the hell, man?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I know he didn't get his due. Go watch Mr. Nobody for a great Jared Leto performance, and then come back to me and you tell me you don't love him because of that movie. You should watch that movie too. Watch the director's cut. And that brings us to, of course, my favorite segment because it's all about me.
About you.
Well, this is a different Hot Toys segment because it's not about Hot Toys. It's about a third-party unlicensed figure of a DC character. So hopefully you'll enjoy this, and this goes out to So-So Toys.
All right, everybody, I am here with the Viceroy of Verisimilitude, the Sultan of Sugar Daddies, and the Titan of Twerking. Rob, what do you have for us today?
Well, today is something different. It's not a hot toy figure. It's what's known as a third-party figure. It comes from, in my estimation, the best third party. That means unlicensed. So they don't have a license to make these figures officially, but they make them anyway. Because, unfortunately, no licensed company is going to spend the money on these figures, and we collectors have to turn to third-party figures to get what we want. Now, this is Brenton Thwaites. In honor of Titans Season 4, this is So-So Toys. They call it the Night Vigilante. And as you can see, I think So-So Toys is almost as great as Hot Toys. I mean, I think the likeness is on point. There's even a light-up feature I mean, look at this. Both of his, what do you call these? Nightsticks, nunchucks? I don't know what you call them. I really love this figure as a longtime Titans fan. I think this is an incredible figure. The likeness is great. They also make a figure of him as Robin, which is also excellent. They make Jason Todd Robin as well. So I'm a huge fan of what So-So Toys has done. I mean, the fact that they even have this light up feature is pretty amazing. So good on them. There's also some really interesting, I mean, this is a pretty basic figure, but he does come with a stand. But he also comes with, in the back here, a magnetic, so there's a magnet in the back, and you can take out his throwing stars or whatever. You know, look at that. How cool is that? And then this just affix right there on his, what do you call that? I don't want to, you know what I'm talking about.
His booty.
His booty. Looks pretty damn good. And huge fan of this figure. I think the likeness is really on point. I really like the fact that some of the armored pieces come off their little tiny Velcro strips. Really, really clever. So-So Toys does a phenomenal job on these figures. And, if a bigger toy company like a Hot Toys is not going to look at something like the Titans, I mean, then where are you going to turn? And if you have a DC display, you can put the Cinematic Justice League, but then I also like getting the Titans figures, whether it's Superboy, whether it's, our Red Hood Robin, the Jason Todd Robin, whether it's this Robin, whether it's the Dick Grayson Robin or the Dick Grayson Night. They call it something else, the Night Vigilante, not Nightwing. I really enjoy this figure. I think it looks terrific and great detailing, great sculpting. And the fact that very clever use of light up features. I mean, tiny little battery in there. Really, really, really well done. And there's nothing about this figure I do not like. I cannot wait to see Season 4 of Titans. I really want them to put Brother Blood in the full-on Brother Blood outfit because he's my favorite. I love Brother Blood, my favorite Titans villain, and one of the great costumes in all of DC comic-dom. So, yeah, here we go. Great figure. Very big fan. So-So Toys. Mwah, chef's kiss. Well, what can I say? If I can't buy Hot Toys, I'll buy anything.
It's still a hot toy.
It is a hot toy. He's a hot dude. Mm. And it's a hot toy. Only, he's 1/6 scale. Yeah. That's the only scale I collect. Well, anyway, that brings us to the end of issue 7 of the Weekly Hero. We've got Wakanda Forever in just a few weeks.
Yes, we do.
We got the second weekend box office of Black Adam to talk about maybe next week. Mm-hmm. What do you think our issue might be? Any idea? It's going to be Halloween.
Ooh,
what are we going to do? What's going to be on Halloween?
See, I want us to kind of do a spooky off. I'd like to talk about Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
I like that.
That'd be fun. Have you read that one?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do Emily the Strange or something like that. I know, right?
Yeah.
Or some kind of whatever the spooky issues are going to be.
Yeah, we could do a little From Hell. You guys let us know if you want to have a special spooky edition of the Weekly Hero. We can go spooktastic on Monday.
We should go spooktastic. Put down in the comments below what your spooktastic issues are that you want to see us talk about next week on issue 8 of the Weekly Hero. Mm-hmm. Well, Kris Carr, where can people find you?
You can find me at actor Kris Carr on both Twitter and Instagram, or you can check out my voiceover studio, speakfriendstudio.com. We're on Instagram now, too. DM me and learn about getting into voiceover. I've got a class coming up November 12th. It's a boot camp. 1 day, 4 hours, commercials, video games, animation. It's going to be so fun.
And you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on Post Geek Singularity on YouTube. And that's pretty much every place you can find us. But you can find us here every week on The Weekly Hero. So for myself and for the lovely Kris Carr, who knows a lot about comic books, I guess we have to say goodbye.
Yeah. Are we going to sync up again? We're going to sing?
No one knows what it's like. I don't know the rest of it.
To be the Batman.
To be the sad bat.